A little bit cold. Well, now it's too hot. They got the heating, last week they got the heating fully working. And the devotees are now complaining it's too hot in the castle. You cannot satisfy it. It's either too hot or too cold. So well, now it's probably warming up anyway, but if you go again, hopefully the heating will be working full blast. I don't know. Let's see. But that's what it was last week. Well, ladies, why don't you come? Well, maybe you need the war, but you seem to be a long way away. And I can't see all the devotees between you, and I'm sure there are thousands of devotees sat here, but we just can't see them. They're unmanifested. Where have all the Vaishnavas gone? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabha Girivardhari Gopi Janabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopikana Balapa Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Oh, Premanande, Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahansa, Harivajagacharya Stata Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gauranga Rai Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Kanaya Ki Jai, Vijayadev Goswami Tirubha Mahotsava Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Brihat Madanga Ki Jai, Harinama Sankirtanam Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastyacha Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Vivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Welcome this morning from far and near. Most of you are from far. So a verse number, please. 21:30. Oh, the mark is there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So you can, I don't know, you can see it on the board. There it is. Screen mirroring. Please repeat. Display name. No, that's not the verse. What type of verse is this? Oh, there we go. Okay. Dao hitra adin Rite mityoho shochan dharma vimohitan vargap spargap apavaganam prayena eka atmya hetuna Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vagasvagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vagasvagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Event ID 0035. Some technical problems with this super system, and still we have technical problems. Okay, we're back online again. There we go. Let's hope we stay there. Otherwise, I do have a portable projector and a lead and everything if you need it. I bring my own portable projector. Okay, just in case if you need it. Dahitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vaga svagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya etuna. Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Svagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vagasvagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vagasvagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Ladies, maybe they're too far away to see the board. Dohitradin vite mityo. Shochan dharma vimohitan. Vagasvagapavaganam. Prayena ekatmya hetuna. Okay. We're back online again, but the word for word's changed again. This is a different verse. That's not the one I've got on my book. Oh, there, is that it? There we go again. Okay. It'd probably be easier from a computer, would it? Yeah, so if we do it using again, I'll bring my computer. Huh? Yeah, well, wherever I go, technology doesn't work very well. I'm cursed or cursing. I'm not sure which way around it is, or both. Yeah, I suppose say both. But yeah, what to do? Daitradin, grandsons like my father Vena. I don't kind of understand that. Vite, Except. Mityaho, of personified death. Shochan, abominable. Dharma vimohitan, bewildered on the path of religion. Varga, religion. Economic development. Sense gratification. And liberation. Can you make it a little thinner, please? It's a little fat there. There we go. Okay. You're having a ball of a time there this morning, Shiva. You must be paranoid, you know. You must be scared out your wits right now. What will happen next? Liberation or elevation. No, where are we? I'm reading the verse. Where do we get to? Varga? Varga? Did we finish Varga? Svarga! Elevation to the heavenly planets. Ooh, that sounds good. Apavarganam. Being freed from material contamination. Prayena. Almost always. Eka. One. Atmya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hetuna. On account of. Translation and purport is a fairly substantial purport, so we hope you can keep online there. Translation: although abominable persons like my father Vena, the grandson of death personified, are bewildered on the path of religion, all the great personalities like those mentioned agree that in this world the only bestower of the benedictions of religion, economic development, sense gratification, liberation, or elevation to the heavenly planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, let's see what Prabhupada says. King Vena, the father of Prithu Maharaj, was condemned by the Brahmanas and saintly persons because of his denying the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rejecting the method of satisfying him by performance of Vedic sacrifices. There wouldn't be that many left on the planet today in this regard, amongst the leaders, that's for sure. In other words, he was an atheist who did not believe in the existence of God and who consequently stopped all Vedic ritualistic ceremonies in his kingdom. Prithu Maharaj considered King Vena's character abominable because Vena was foolish regarding the execution of religious performances. Atheists are of the opinion that there is no need to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be successful in religion, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. According to them, Dharma or religious principles are meant to establish an imaginary God, to encourage one to become moral. According to them, Dharma or religious principles are meant to establish an imaginary God, to encourage one to become moral, honest, and just, so that the social orders may be maintained in peace and tranquility. Furthermore, they say that actually there is no need to accept God for this purpose, for if one follows the principles of morality and honesty, that is sufficient. Similarly, if one makes nice plans and works very hard for economic development, automatically the result of economic development will come. Similarly, sense gratification also does not depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I hope you're all listening carefully to this. If you take this out of context, just quote it, it sounds like Srila Prabhupada is propagating atheistic, materialistic philosophy. And oftentimes we do take verses out of context, maybe not so black and white as this one. Maybe they sound very philosophical, but we're taking it out of context and using it for, let's say, a personal agenda. It's a very common feature of Kali Yuga particularly, of misusing Shastric quotes, because we have a personal agenda. Something different, separatist from Krishna's agenda. So that's why it's important. For instance, people read the Bhagavad Gita, they read all scriptures, no doubt, many people do. But they don't know how to apply it. Srila Prabhupada, that's why his purports are so important. Anyone can read the verses, it's there, many. Sanskrit is there, maybe some translations, they may be bad or not bad. But without the purport, we do not know how to understand or apply this teaching. We misuse the knowledge. Because people have no intelligence. How can they use the knowledge? Their intelligence is bewildered. So we have to hear from somebody how to execute the knowledge. It's not just about hearing the verses or the knowledge. It's the science of executing that knowledge. This is the science. It's not just about learning things. It's about knowing how to put what you learn into practice. Otherwise it won't work. It won't work. The whole thrust of this verse here is the mercy of Krishna. And you may quote 1,000,000 verses. And we've seen persons, there was one man, what was his name now? Forgotten. And he was coming to the temple in 1972 in London. He knew the Bhagavad Gita by heart. He knew hundreds and hundreds of verses from Mahabharata and this one and that one. He was the secretary of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in London. He was very, knowledge-wise, very learned. But he could not give up smoking cigarettes. He wasn't even vegetarian. And he wanted to come and speak in the temple, you know. He wanted to give class. Without realization, there's no value. It is empty. It's like a husk of rice with no rice inside, huh? Empty. It looks like it, but there's nothing in there. Have you ever had that experience? You know? Or capsule medicine. There's no medicine inside. It's just a capsule. Sometimes you find that. This is what's going on. It looks nice on the surface. The philosophy may even sound good. The person may seem to be very full of good qualities. But there's no substance. Because he's not connected to Krishna. He wants Krishna to connect to him. Krishna, you do what I say, huh? I don't agree with what you said there. I'm going to change it. We'll hear more about that tonight. That's interesting. Today, Jayadev Goswami's Tirubhava. So, they look religion. People accept it as a religious person, a very good person, a very pious person, etc. But what is the purpose behind it all? Just like here, Prabhupada's mentioning, even in the form of economic development. You know, why? Why people follow religion? Why people follow these things? Why? Why do they follow religion? Perhaps because they're told to, they're afraid, or whatever, they're brought up like that. Maybe they got a little bit of pious, spiritual inclination, maybe. But in general, it's, Prabhupada's mentioned here, it's a system to keep law and order, to keep people under the thumb, to keep them perhaps from doing things which are considered to be, let's say, unfavorable for the country's purposes, or whatever it is. It's not necessary, and it may be, but it's not necessary ultimately, so that we become completely surrendered to the will of God. It might be, but in many cases it's not. Where did we get to in the purport? Got carried away there. Sense gratification. Is it?
Similarly,
Similarly, sense gratification also does not depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We sometimes hear these statements. Even Krishna argued in to some degree like this. Karma Mangsa philosophy, huh? When Nandaraj wanted to perform the Indra Yagya, Krishna argued against it. What's the use of this Indra? Of course he's a demigod, but still, the principle's the same. What do we depend on him for? What's he got to do it? Even if he does have a position, he simply is like an order, whatever, if you do good, you get good results. Simple as that. And if you do bad, you get a bad result. What do we need an Indra for? We don't need this guy. We need karma. Everything depends on karma. But the modern society doesn't even accept that much. They don't care about that even. It's just whatever you think is good, is good. Whatever we decide, a bunch of asses decide that it's good, that, this is such and such. So I said, what can a bunch of asses come up with? E-all. Nothing much more than an e-all. But they're all, everyone's in the same mindset. So the whole world is bewildered like this, following unqualified persons in the name of religion, philosophy, politics, science, you name it. Isn't it? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what is going on. There's some sentiment sometimes there. Something maybe. But they don't really know how to put it into practice because there's no enlightened leadership. The leader has to be enlightened. That's why the Brahmins got rid of Vena. If the Brahmins of this caliber were here today, would there be anyone left on the planet in leadership? I don't know. Maybe some. I don't know. Who can say? Religious principles, it's not, in Manasimi it's not easy to understand the application of religious principles. There's always some contradiction there. Even amongst great devotees sometimes we see there seems to be contradictory opinions, contradictory applications, contradictory visions. Sometimes that's there also amongst great devotees. And we see it. If we don't know the time, place, circumstance, application, you will feel that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami are not agreeing on many things. Even Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami, you'll see, they seem to disagree on certain things. If we don't have the realized understanding of why the statements are made. But people do not know. Because we're under the clouds. What can we understand? What can we understand? We can only see what we can see limited objects around us. And we see it through our conditioned perception, right? If all the time everyone gives simple example, if you're looking through a pair of spectacles, and these need cleaning, if that's for sure. But if you're looking through the spectacles, and if you're not looking through the spectacles, your vision is different. It's the same object, and you're the same person, but it looks different. It's not the person out there is different, and it's not the person in here is different, but I'm perceiving you differently than if I put my glasses on. Kalesh Prabhu, why are you wearing blue today? Why is Kalesh in blue? Huh? Huh? Oh, you're over there. I would not... if I squint, I can probably make you out. Simple as that. If I put my glasses on, I can clearly see that you're sitting over there. No, over there. Everyone's wearing different glasses. Now, if you put my glasses on, Balaram, come here. Put these on. Come on. Don't be shy. You haven't come all the way from Philippines for nothing. Put those on. Tell me what you see.
Blurred. Nothing.
Nothing. Just a total blur. Now, Now I put them on. What's funny, isn't it? I put them on. They're the same glasses. You're the same person and we're the same. But when I put them on, they're totally different. I can see everything probably clear. I mean, we only know what we can see. I don't know what you see. I only know what I see. But it looks pretty clear, and it seems to fit what we're expected it to be. You see? Everyone's seeing differently. Right, Bala? If I put your glasses on, I may not be able to see anything either. But we'll argue with each other. No, this is right. No, this is right. We're all seeing through our imperfect perception. Religion is meant to change the perception. Right, Shiva? Meant to change the perception. It's not just meant to change the externals. That may be or may not be, but that's not the essence. It's to change how we see things. But unfortunately, people get caught up in this kind of limited perspective of things. And they all see differently. We see that with religions today. They all have their own absolute... They try to kind of, yes, we agree, but they don't really agree when it comes down to it. They're a clear thing, very clear. Because their perception is impure. And we're not seeing things what they are. Krishna consciousness simply means to open your eyes and see things for what they are, not what they're not. We're all under Maya, seeing the world and seeing others and seeing everything through the eyes of, you could say, through the vision reflected of Maya. You're seeing a reflection of reality, depending on the modes of nature. It's like you're looking into a mirror, you're seeing a reflection, so it depends on the mirror what you're going to see. Isn't it? You know, you have the Hall of Mirrors. Have you got those here in Malaysia?
When there's a fun fair kind of thing.
Maybe in the fun fair. Yeah, you go in there and the mirror is concave or convex, huh? You look in there, you got like a head as big as an elephant and a body like a matchstick, and it looks funny. People laugh. But that's really what's going on here. Every mirror is different, Some mirrors make you look like so fat. All different things. So it's like that. We're all seeing through these different reflections in our consciousness and judging accordingly. So religion is to help us to judge things from Krishna's perspective, to see things from Krishna's perspective, and to see our relationship with Krishna, and how we can act in such a way that is compatible or favorable, pleasing to Krishna. But that's not always the case. It's meant to be. There might be some element of that. But there's an awful lot of element which is that's what we say, separatist mentality. A lot. Maybe even turning or, in changing the doctrine to fit our perception. Quite often that happens. It's a historical fact that this has taken place. I'm not going to say where, when, and anywhere. I don't know. I know bits. But it's going on. It's been going on from time immemorial. So therefore people have this misunderstanding of what is religion for, what is the goal of religion, how to apply it in an effective way, what is it, how is it seen from God's perspective, etc. Why we have so much clash, misunderstanding, even amongst devotees. There's misunderstanding. We try to quote Shastra, we quote somebody said, isn't it? Maybe not even within the Vaishnav circle, maybe even from outside sometimes we bring things in. I think this is going to be difficult. Maybe I'll try to sit cross-legged because I need to prop my back up somehow or another. This cushion's very soft, and my back's going in, and my lower part's going in, and the back's going like this. I can't sit too long like this. Just give me a second. I'll try to sit back. There's cartels everywhere. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay. Huh?
Something comfortable, soft.
No, that's fine. So where do we get to? Here we go. Insofar as liberation is concerned, they say there is no need to talk of liberation. It's like you're going down the scale here, aren't we? We're starting with the devotional mood. Everything depends on Krishna, mercy of Krishna. Then religion becomes a kind of a fulfillment for material desire. And then, then it's just work hard, act piously, economic development, etc. Everyone's looking over. What's going on? Oh, looking on the screen. Good. And then it's like, sense gratification, that's all. Nothing else. And now we're seeing that there's no need to worry about liberation because there's no life after death. That's it, finished. Just do what you like. That type of philosophy means do anything. What difference does it make? If you just do whatever you like. Isn't it? It's really animal philosophy. There's no reaction. It made no difference. Who cares if you're alive or dead? You're not really anything anyway. Of course, they reduce it to the fact you're nothing eventually. You're just a chemical. Some kind of chemical combination. So, then that's like another topic. We won't get into that one. It's reduced to nothing practically. There's no point in anything. And people do come up with that philosophy. That is a very popular philosophy. I can't remember the name. Nietzsche or somebody, one of these famous philosophers. There's absolutely no point in anything. It may not have been him, but somebody. We'll finish off the purport. So after death they say, everything is finished. Finished. It's an easy one to buy. But it means if I feel like killing you, why shouldn't I kill you? What difference does it make? It doesn't really matter if I'm living or dead. It doesn't make no difference. There's nothing afterwards. Prithu Maharaj, however, did not accept the authority of such atheists, headed by his father, who was the grandson of death personified. Generally, a daughter inherits the qualities of her father, and a son gets the qualities of his mother. Thus, Mrithu's daughter, death's daughter, Sunita, got all the qualities of her father, and Vena inherited the qualities of his mother. A person who is always subjected to the rules and regulations of repeated birth and death cannot accommodate anything beyond materialistic ideas. Since King Vena was such a man, he did not believe in the existence of God. Where is he? Hiranyakashipu, huh? Prahlad! If your God exists, where is he? But what did Prahlad say? He's everywhere, Father. Oh! Everywhere! I can't see him! If he's everywhere, is he in this column? You've got lots of columns here. You could really do a nice drama here. Is he in this column? Yes, Father, he's everywhere. Ha ha ha! Well, if he's in this column, I'll kill him! Of course, he tried, but he died. Yes, Krishna is everywhere. Just because we can't see him, does that mean he doesn't exist? There are probably a few things we can't see, but maybe we accept them as existing. Can you see my mind? Does it exist? You sure? How do you know? Huh? What's that mean? I'm mad. Because I'm so mad, I must have a mind. Huh?
You understand that you got a mind, but I can't see your mind.
How do you? Why? I can't see it.
See the symptoms of it.
Maybe, I don't know.
See the
I'm
symptoms.
sleeping. But whatever, you can't actually see it. So you see the symptoms. So in one sense, you could say that. You can see the symptoms of a God. Right? If you're going to use that as an argument. What are the symptoms? You have to know what the symptoms are. That's another topic. Yes. There are many others you can't even see. Can you see ether? Does it exist?
Through the
Huh?
we can know it through the airwaves of the
Well, we understand it through various logic and reason and hypothesis, but you can't see it physically. You can't even see the air, but you feel it. You can't see it. So seeing is not all. Mostly it's through hearing that we come to these conclusions, isn't it? How can you see that the sun is 93 million miles away? You might be able to see the sun, but you can't see it. We accept through hearing. There are many things in the sky we accept we can't see. What to speak of on this planet? You know, have you seen, some of you have you seen New Zealand?
On a map.
But that's just a piece of paper. Anyone can do that. I can write a map and put, anything on it. But have you seen it? No. You've heard from others it does exist. Right? You can't guarantee it, but, when many people say it exists, you kind of come to the conclusion it probably exists. Although I've never seen it. So, everything's like that. We mostly get from hearing. But, what to say? People don't like to hear outside of their, because they're under the influence of birth and death, they have only material concepts, and the idea of something beyond this is perhaps a little bit unwanted here, unpleasant. Since King Vena was such a man, modern civilization agrees with the principles of King Vena. But factually, if we scrutinizingly study all the conditions of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, we must accept the principles of the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Why must you? Why must you? It's a big topic, isn't it? But their philosophy is that, everything's a reaction in the sense of a chemical form or a material form, and it's existed eternally. Their philosophy. Which, again, is another topic. But here, why would we say, that if one, Prabhupada says, scrutinizingly studies, economic development, sense, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, one would conclude that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? What argument can you use? Anything? Nothing? Is it just another blind dogma? Huh? Prabhupada says here, if you scrutinizingly study, that means intensely study, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, you have to conclude that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? What is the argument? You have to have an argument. You can't just say it. What it means to scrutinizingly study.
You break down like the Samkhya philosophy.
Okay, so how are you going to do that with these 4 items? I mean, if you scrutinizingly study religion, what does it mean?
That's the analytical study, like the Samkhya philosophy.
Well, that's not, maybe they're studying the elements. That's an elementary study. But in terms of religious study, it wouldn't be classified necessarily as a religious study. They can be in harmony, but it's not in of itself. It's more of a scientific approach. And religion. What would be the scrutinizing study of religion? Well, let's take the Bible, which is Scripture. If you scrutinizingly study the Bible, what conclusion would you come to?
You're sinful. And
Pardon?
You're very sinful, and the only way you can go to heaven is through the Holy Son.
Maybe there's 1 or 2 references like that in there, but that's very few. You scrutinizingly study the Bible. What would you find? What's the Bible start with? What does Jesus repeat over and over again also later on in the New Testament?
Holy be thy name.
In the beginning, huh? What was the beginning? Right in the beginning. Huh? Genesis, Exodus, what's the beginning? That everything comes from God, right? I mean, what can you say? I mean, there's no necessary scientific application involved there. It's just every religion has its scriptures, has its teachings, and almost, it's not everyone exactly, but practically speaking, you see the origin is one God, isn't it? Practically speaking. What does Jesus say? That's right in the beginning. I can't remember the exact words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word came from God, or something along those lines. What does Jesus say? Huh?
Love God above all.
Love God above all. Very nice. Statement of Lord Jesus. He also says over and over again, my Father, I'm the Son, He's the Father. He indicates, although He's a representative of God, that representing God, empowered by the Lord, carrying the message of God. But there's a Father, there's a supreme person, whom everyone should worship. I guess that's what it means to scrutinizingly study religion for what it's now known as. If we study it from another perspective, we could go probably a little bit higher in discussing, constitutional aspects of the living entity, the symptoms of a living entity, and so on. It's kind of a complex subject. And if we look at it from the point of view of economic development, is there any way that we can scrutinizingly study that and conclude there must be a God? Ask the Chinese, and that's the best way. So you're Chinese, so you should be answering.
But money is, cash is king.
Money what?
Cash is king.
Has its king?
Cash.
Cash?
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
They do anything they can.
Oh, the Chinese, yeah, but how does that help us conclude that there's a God?
They don't believe, suppose. But they do believe that something comes from somewhere, I think. When they do anything, they start praying to that imaginary God to help them. Again, it's a lot on faith.
Like some hope there's some spirits or something, huh? Higher spirits. Something higher, huh? Something higher. What we see in our society, everywhere you go, you see, if you want to get something nowadays particularly, not everything, but in most cases, you have to go to someone. You have to go to the bank if you want money, you have to go to a shop if you want to buy something. You have to apply, you have to do this, you have to do that. You're kind of dependent. If you look at the material world, let's say, in terms of its supply for us. Now, Prabhupada quotes the communist system in Russia. Huh? How Mr. Communist was saying to the people, where is your God? See, the communists were a little tricky. They would hold back all the grains and all the food, so the people were almost starving. They said, why don't you pray? Because the people were very religious. You pray to your God. Why, if you say God supplies, why you pray to Him? So they're all going praying, give me bread, give me bread. So then no bread was coming. That's another topic. But then they said, why don't you ask us? Mr. Communist, do you have bread? Yes, we do. Here, take it. So Mr. Communist becomes more, significant than Mr. God. And many people become atheists like that. Same in the war. Many people became atheists because they prayed for, both sides, praying. And obviously not everyone's going to win. Everyone lost, actually. But then many people became atheists. Many. Very shallow, you could say.
This also happened in our estate where the Christian missionary will say that your God, your idol can't help you, we help you, give you right, and then they convert to Christianity.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very popular technique. Offering a carrot, offering bait, so that the fish takes the bait. But it's like a shallow understanding, you could say, of everything. of God, of ourselves, the relationship, everything. It's a little shallow, but it's an easy one to buy. They even wrote it. There was a magazine when I first came here in the early 80s. A magazine was being circulated by one group. So the proof that you're not worshipping God is you're poor. That's the proof. If your God existed, you'd be rich. Well, I don't think Jesus was preaching that. I don't think he was. Never heard that. Did you hear that? He's preaching that, if the proof of your religion being authorized is you're rich in this world. Was that his teaching? Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. But this is, again, people are easily perplexed and bewildered in this age of Kali due to lack of leadership. But the bottom root is, from where, Prabhupada would say, Mr. Communist, where did you get the grains from in the first place? Where did you get the grains from? Did you make them? Did you make? We can't make a grain. Science can't even make one grain. Not one. You can only take what already exists and, play around with it. But you can't make one. You can't make any, but it's existing. Now, if you say to somebody, like here we've got a mic, a stand with a mobile, from our perspective, it does exist, doesn't it? Does it? Looks like it. To say that nobody made this, if I said nobody made this, what would you say? Fool. You're stupid. Of course someone made it. Huh? So, you could use that as an argument, maybe. Well, you say that, it was Newton, wasn't it, who made that model of the universe. Newton had a little bit of theism, I suppose. And his friend was an atheist, and Newton had made this, this model, kind of like in his room or whatever, of the solar system, the planets going around the sun or something. And his friend said, "Oh, this is really good. Who made this?" He said, "Nobody." Nobody made it. Come on, don't be stupid. Who made it? Nobody made it. Are you trying to make me look like a fool? Of course somebody made it. Come on, tell me. I said, "Why? It can't exist. Nobody made it. How's it here? Come on, tell me." I said, "Well, look, mate, you believe the whole universe that you're looking at, everything around us, has no maker, but you can't believe this little thing, imitation of it, has to have a maker." It's a little bit foolish in one sense. So you could look at everything like that, a moment, boom, everything can be taken away, isn't it? It's not in our control. You can analyze it from our incapacity to understand. You can do it from so many angles. But in principle, if you can take that argument back to original sources. And in this way, I suppose you could somewhat scrutinizingly study these various things and come to the conclusion. Probably sometimes use, who's your father? Who's his father? Father, boom, 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 all the way back. It may not be a very solid argument in anyone's mind, but, what is? So we have to see a little bit logic, we haven't got much logic, we haven't got much perception. So much of it we believe, even in materially speaking, from hearing, from authority, hearing from persons who are, in this particular case, who are very advanced in consciousness, who are very advanced in qualities, etc. As far as liberation is concerned, and what can you say? There's no way we can get liberation without some higher help. It does not. Where do we get to? Since King Vena, we read that. According to Vedic literature, religion consists only of the codes or law given by God. If one does not accept the authority of the Supreme Godhead in matters of religion and morality, one must explain why two persons of the same moral standard achieve different results. So now, a little analysis Prabhupada is giving here. You do one thing and I do another. You get a different result than I get. Why are we born differently? Why are we, get different results from the same thing? So many questions could be asked there. It is generally found that even if two men have the same moral standards, ethics, honesty and morality, their positions are still not the same. Similarly, in economic development, it is seen that if two men work very hard day and night, still the results are not the same. One person may enjoy great opulence without even working, whereas another person, although working very hard, does not even get 2 sufficient meals a day. Well, I guess they say this is hard luck, chance, hard luck, whatever that is. But of course Prabhupada is referring here that they make it's karma. Well, what's behind karma? Who's the lawmaker? Have you ever seen a law create itself? Suddenly a law appeared. Today we like to announce that a law suddenly appeared in society. We're sorry to announce it, that no one's allowed to go on the street anymore. It's a law just appeared out of nowhere. We all have to follow it. Huh?
Not possible.
Not possible. Somebody has made the law, right?
Yeah. Parliament.
The Parliament has made the law. Whatever. Your local council has made the law. Or you've made the law. Someone's made the law.
You can make the law in your own house.
You can make the law in your own house. You can make the law in your own body. To a certain extent, at least. Whether others agree or not is another thing. But in a country, yes, it's usually the government, and you're supposed to follow the law of the government. Law that may vary from country to country. So they talk about the laws of nature. Even the atheists talk of the laws of nature. Right? They're black and white laws. So again, we're back to the same thing, for God's sake, If laws are made by a lawmaker. It's quite a simple logic. It's not that difficult to grasp. If we look at our own, let's say, now this is all without looking at the nature of the soul whatsoever. This is just external analysis. One person, similarly in the matter of sense gratification, sometimes one who has sufficient food is still not happy in his family affairs. Sometimes is not even married. Whereas another person, even though not economically well off, has the greatest opportunity for sense gratification. Even an animal like a hog or a dog may have greater opportunity for sense gratification than a human being. Aside from liberation, even if we consider only the preliminary necessities of life, dharma, artha and kama, religion, economic development and sense gratification, we will see that they are not the same for everyone. Therefore it must be accepted that there is someone who determines. Just like in a country or in any business, you give different facilities to different persons, different rewards to different persons. It doesn't happen by chance. Somebody does it. If you work hard, you get a good wage. If you don't work hard, you don't get a good wage. Generally speaking. We're not in a perfect situation, but that's the general philosophy. Reciprocation is there. But there has to be somebody who's reciprocating. It doesn't just happen. In conclusion, not only for liberation must one depend on the Lord, but even for ordinary necessities in this material world. Preeti Maharaj therefore indicated that in spite of having rich parents, children are sometimes not happy, and that's often the case. Often the case. Very often the case. The richest man in England, Indian actually, he was, son committed suicide. He was the only boy in the family. Imagine how they felt. Multi-billionaires. It's a long story. Similarly, in spite of valuable medicine administered by a competent physician, sometimes a patient dies. Or in spite of having and sometimes the same person with the same disease has no medicine and survives. One has all the medical help and they don't survive, and the other has none and they survive. Not just by material adjustment, there's something else going on there. Similarly, in spite of that, You know, in spite of having a big, safe boat, sometimes a man drowns. There's a story, Titanic. You know the Titanic story? Famous boat. First voyage, right? The British claim this is unsinkable. They tried to make it in such a way it couldn't be sunk. On its first voyage from England to New York, it sank.
Small iceberg.
Hit an iceberg somehow or another. I don't know, but there was a reason. But it hit an iceberg, and it was obviously it smashed into the right through it. I mean, it burst through all the various protective panels and what have you, and the ship sank, and thousands of people died. Some survived, right? There were some boats nearby. Some people managed to survive, but most died, as far as I don't know the figures, but many died. And so one guy who survived, he went on to New York. Shortly after that, he died. And how did he die? He slipped. I don't know exactly. He slipped over, and he fell on the floor. There was a puddle of water. He went unconscious, and he drowned in the puddle of water. Just a little puddle of water. He drowned. Huh? Not in the ocean, in a puddle of water in New York. He survived the Titanic, but he drowned in the puddle of water. He went unconscious, and nose was under the water, and he drowned. You can't escape, you know. I'm lucky. But, you know, you'll get what their due is. We may thus struggle to counteract impediments offered by material nature, but our attempts cannot be successful unless we are favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, for a more realized person, they're not interested necessarily these particular aspects of the law's reciprocation. They don't ask for any of these things. They don't even ask for liberation. Right? It's something deeper, something internal. Love. Prove that you love somebody, or you can do some external things. I don't believe you love them. I can't see why do you love that person? Why? What do you see? I don't see anything in them. Why do you love them? Can you rationally analyze it in some ways? You could externally, but that's not the real essence of love, is it? The way they look, this, that, the other. That's not really the essence of love. It's something you feel inside your heart, isn't it? You can't like break it down to some chemical reaction or some physical thing so much. People, you know, from my perspective or your perspective, they seem to love somebody who looks really ugly, who has a character which I don't like, you know, but this person loves them. How do you analyze it? You can't, you know, everyone's individual. Such variety is there. Incredible variety. It's amazing. Everyone's so individual. And when it comes to love, it's something that's in your heart. I don't care less whether you say, I don't believe you love them. What difference does it make to me? You can say what you damn well like. I know I love them. I don't believe it. Well, that may change because the love isn't based on an absolutely pure platform, but the principle is still the same. It's something you feel in your heart that others may not feel. That may change. We're in a material world, and the material world is always changing. So love is something which is also, you can't really, consciousness, you can't define it from a material perspective. Huh? It's bewildering. If you've studied this, you'll find many other arguments. I haven't put my mind to it. But there'll be many other arguments in this regard, or many other clarifications. The way the world works in such order, so systematically, how every atom, you know, it's like incredible. Of course, then you come to the other argument, how can anyone create all this? You take one atom, it's so complex. Isn't it? The material is so complex. Why? You can go on and on like this, because we're so limited. We can't conceive like a child can't conceive how, an adult can do some of the things they do. An ant can't possibly understand how a human being works. It's not possible. It can try as it will, but it has no intelligence to understand. None. The human beings have very little intelligence, especially in this Kali Yuga, to understand anything beyond a little bit of local experience. Everything else is a speculation, practically. Anyway, we'll finish there. Unfortunately, the world and ourselves are so much influenced by these atheistic and godless, let's say, indoctrinations from the very moment we're born. It's hard to get out of it because we're so materialistic. Everything we do is for a material reason. Can't see beyond that in most cases. Any questions?
Maharaj, what you're saying is that, like for us, as being devotee, we know that all this is created by the illusionary energy of Krishna.
That's what we accept.
Right. So if Maharaj talking from the materialistic point of view, people, it's difficult to convince them because they won't accept anything because they already have their mindset.
That's right. That's the condition of we're indoctrinated.
So, to make them understand, I guess it may not nitya eternally condition.
We will not. Make them understand.
Like Maharaj was saying that why someone loves someone, for us we understand, but how to convince the materialistic people?
Very difficult.
That's right, Maharaj.
You have to ask yourself, how were you convinced?
Because like it's like a love, it's internal. You're searching for something. Why am I going through this?
Well, some people are definitely, their consciousness is so the way it is that they're not able to digest this at all.
Right.
They may reject it or simply not even try, or if they do take it, they can't digest it at all. They vomit it out. So that's just how it is in the material world. They're not. You could say their consciousness is not yet clarified enough. They're too much into the modes of nature to be able to even understand anything about it. It's just like a foreign language. Their mentality is maybe like animalistic in many ways. Animal can't understand. So when human beings become like animals, they can't even hear it, what the speaker try to understand it. They reject it. It's not, no. Right? Take enough? You've lived in France? No mercy at all. They can't even accept, no. There's not even one word that they can take. And a religion, if we're stuck in a religious rut, then the same thing can be there too. You can't accept anything outside of your little tiny world. So what to do?
We understand, of course, that this is due to the past life.
Yeah. But your question was what to do, how to convince them. Whatever the reasons that one's stuck in this situation, something else. So what are you going to do? Just ignore them entirely? Well, there are statements like that, the unfaithful, the atheistic, just avoid them. Yeah, to some extent. But what else, is there anything else we can do? You preach to the innocent. That means those who are open, those who are feeling a bit fried with the material world or looking for some alternative or something or another. Somebody who's searching a little bit. You see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, those who come to me and those who don't come to me. So you've got those two basic categories. And it is, to a certain extent, like that most people who do open up to genuine spirituality are a little fried with, the world. They're suffering. They realize they're suffering. They don't know what to do. They're looking for solutions. They're inquisitive to try to find out the knowledge, the truth behind it all. You find that is there to some extent or another when people come to Krishna, in general, to Krishna consciousness or any genuine spiritual path. Anything else we can say? Other than just, sorry mate, you're not ready for it.
Prabhupada said we give them prasad.
Okay, prasadam. the art of preaching is not just ramming at people. Everyone's the same. It doesn't work like that. It's like if you have 10, you've got 4 kids. Are they all exactly the same?
No.
You have to know each one's nature a little bit, don't you? And see what works with each one.
Yes.
Isn't it? If you want to be successful in dealings, you can't treat everyone as the same. You've got to understand the person, not just the rule, not just how you see it. So it's like that. When preaching, you've got to see with the people. That's why Jesus Christ only spoke, as he said, there are many things I have to tell you, but you can't even follow what I'm telling you up to now, so why should I tell you anything else? People are not ready. They're not ready to hear more. Veda is the same thing. There are many different the word is mentioned here. Different paths, vargas. Particular different stages people are on. So in preaching, one has to see that. What works. What they can digest. Not what you can digest or someone else can. What they can digest. You don't just preach as if everyone's the same. They may not be ready to hear that there is spirit, soul, there's a God and this and that. They don't believe it anyway. It's just done. I don't want to know about these things. Says, no, I don't know. You have to find a way. I mean, people make their choices, but at least try to find a way to connect somehow or another. Begin. And that's why Lord Chaitanya introduced the Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada said clearly that in the beginning, when Hridayananda Maharaj asked him, philosophy, Prabhupada, should we introduce philosophy in the beginning or later? Prabhupada said later. You just try to get them to chant. Try to get them to take prasadam.
Be a friend first.
Be a friend. Now another thing is, be a friend if you're preaching is a very good point. Another thing is, if you go there, if you're not a friend, if you go there and start arguing with them or shouting at them, you're definitely not going to get very far. In fact, you might end up being, locked up or beaten up or dead even, Your preaching may come to an end. So you've got to use a little common sense, intelligence. And another thing is behavior. Now, one thing that people look at nowadays, if anything whatsoever, to judge others is their behavior. Right? Not what you say, but how you behave. Isn't it? As a movement, as an individual. And that doesn't just carry on just how you behave, but how the organization you represent behaves. And you've got to bear in mind to some extent, if you want to interact with the public in general, you've got to understand their perception of it to some extent. Otherwise, we may have our moral perspective and our, do's and don'ts. They have a different set. You've got to bear that in mind as well. Some of their do's and don'ts may not be in accordance with Krishna conscious do's and don'ts. You've got to take that into account also. They have their rules, they have their expectations. So to some extent when preaching, you've got to be a little bit aware of that too, so you don't kind of end up with an argument over what is right and wrong. You've got to some extent, there has to be a little bit of taking that into account before one takes things to a higher level, Being aware of the people you're preaching to or we're interacting with is essential in every walk of life practically. If you're trying to sell a product, it may be a good product, but you've got to be aware of the market. You've got to be aware of what people want. They may not want that product, right? Like if you hear, what do people like to eat in Malaysia? Nothing?
So many things.
Huh?
So many things.
Yeah, but what special they like, huh? Nasi lemak. Okay, you go to let's say a society where in that society everyone's a strict health freak. They won't like nasi lemak at all. You won't sell any nasi lemak. Or if you're into, let's say, milk and butter and cheese, you go and you find everyone in the society is vegan. How much milk and butter are you going to sell? Not much, if any. Right? They're all vegan. Not going to sell any. Or if everyone's a meat eater, and you're the only restaurant in town, there's a vegetarian restaurant, how much are you going to sell? Huh? You'll be closed in no time. You've got to know the market, right? What people can digest. It's expertise in preaching. Yes, you can target. Mostly we target audience. Our preaching is mostly targeted audience. A certain class of people who are a little more open, generally, understandable. You've got to go where you can get the fruits first. If fruits are available here, why go over there?
Low-hanging fruit.
No hanging fruit. So you've got to get the fruit you can get, because those fruits can then go further afield and get more fruits, you see. So that's natural. But on a broader basis, is there anything... The Sankirtan movement is very broad, actually. Yeah, that's why it's called universal. Because when you go on Harinam Sankirtan, everybody hears it. They may be the biggest atheists in the universe, but they hear the holy name. That they may do, but why are they doing that? Because they heard the holy name. So even if they heard it once, they still heard it. Like they can't stand it, but they heard it once. So still they get a benefit. Or they saw the devotees. They get benefit. Even though they hate us, this from their perspective, they get some benefit. Not that we go out of our way, to irritate people and be happy to see them angry, but because we're benefiting them. We're not that great.
By scolding you, your Hare Krishna are lazy, so chanting one time.
They're also getting benefited. So we don't get proud of that, but that's a fact. That's a fact. And prasadam is definitely a win, but try to make sure it's nicely offered. Don't just, do any damn thing.
Laura Mandala Prabhu said one time, you're cooking mustard seed sabji.
You're what?
Cooking mustard seed sabji.
Mustard seed sabji.
The mustard seed is more than the vegetables.
Too spicy. Well, I mean, if the people you're preaching to live on spices, you can do that. But if you're going to Chinese people, that may not be the best thing to do. Certainly if you're going to Westerners, it's not usually the best thing to do. If they want that, they'll go for a place where you can get it. You don't push it on them, They go to the curry shop. But you have to know your audience, otherwise you're stupid. It's like, I think we're learning a lot, but I saw for a long time there, it's hot summertime, right? And you go to the restaurant, and they've got like hot halava, hot custard, hot dal, everything's boiling hot. And everyone else people are queuing up. They've got salads and light steamed vegetables and things. And we're serving hot things, time, place, and circumstance. It's like your bar what's it called? Burley Heads in New Govardhan. You've been to the restaurant? I mean, they're expert. They're expert. They know exactly. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were expert. They know exactly what. Summertime, you have beautiful salad wraps and hundreds of different salads and cool drinks, and ice creams, and you've got to know what time, place, and circumstance. We're talking about people who have no interest in Krishna consciousness here. A devotee will eat halava even in the desert, But most people are not like that,
Intelligence.
Yeah, you've got to use your intelligence in preaching, exactly. It's not just about doing it. So we said at the very beginning, enthusiasm means, it doesn't just mean action. It means action with intelligence. Otherwise we're just blind. We're just dull. Okay, we're finished there. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The program this evening, Arti, is what time? 7. And after that there will be I think there will be a class. Okay. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.